So last week we asked you to notice any kind of negative emotions that showed up and try to explain to yourself why you had them. And the reason why we did that is two-part. So one is when you take the role of the observer of your life rather than just going with the flow and whatever comes up, you are able to suddenly create a little bit of distance between who you are and what you're feeling and thinking. And that little bit of distance usually brings the volume of the feeling and the thoughts down to maybe not to a zero, but down a notch. And that's just a very valuable skill to have in your toolbox. Learn how to notice the things that show up in your life, the thoughts you have, the emotions that come up, the pain you feel, like anything like that. Just learn how to observe it more than just go with it, if you can understand what I'm saying. And then the second part of it is a way for you to realize that in any given situation, you have a choice as to how you want to react. And I'll give you an example to this. If so, and it's actually a fun example because it happened to me the other day. I was out for a run and I was running in the city center. I live in Norway. I was running in the city center. And then I ran past something that really looked like a snake. Like it could have been a python. And so I ran past this and I smiled to myself because I had no emotional reaction to it. I just noticed, oh, that could have been a snake. And then I had to smile. And then I continued my run. The cool thing about this is if because in Norway there is like 0.00001% chance that that would have actually been a snake, and I know this, right? And so that's why I don't react to it. But had I been, let's say, in India, in Australia, in the Amazon, and I would have, and being on a run and seeing that exact same thing, I would have been like I probably would have shit my pants, right? And I would have been so startled and frightened in that moment, just because I was in a different country, and the probability of that actually being a snake would have been different, right? But the cool thing about this is what is creating that reaction in my body. So this was never a snake. It was not a snake in Norway. It was not a snake in the Amazon. But when I ran past it, if I had been in the Amazon, it would have been a snake to me, right? It wasn't a snake, but it would have been. It was a rubber hose kind of thing, but it really looked like a python. But in the Amazon, I would have interpreted it as a snake, and I would have immediately said to myself, "This is dangerous," and I would have turned on my whole nervous system. But because I was in Norway when this happened, there was absolutely no chance of that being a snake. Nothing like that happened because I felt safe, right? And so this situation in both cases was never anything dangerous. I just ran past a rubber hose. But in Amazon, my nervous system would have taken it on as a huge danger, even though it was just a rubber hose, at least to the very second that I would have actually noticed that there was no danger. And this is true with every single emotion and thought that you have in your life. The situation itself, the fact that there was a rubber hose on the ground, was not the issue in me turning on my nervous system in the Amazons, right? That was never the issue. So the situation at hand is never the issue. It is how you interpret it. And let's say, for example, if it actually was a python snake and I ran past it in Norway in the city center, like I did, and it was actually a snake, I still wouldn't have been scared because I would have not considered it to be a danger because there was no probability of it being there. And so I wouldn't have been scared until I actually knew that it was a snake. And so the fact that the snake was there would not have made a difference, right? Because I would have interpreted it as something that wasn't dangerous. And see, so let's say during this week you were late for work one day and you were stuck in traffic and you were just shouting at everyone, being pissed at the rush traffic. You got angry, your alarm clock didn't ring, and all this. You were just really stressed for being late to work. And then maybe the guy in the car next to you had the same situation, but he was singing and having the time of his life on his way to work, still late for work, but he was singing because he interpreted that situation as being non-dangerous, whereas you did. And you can apply this to anything in your life. So the next time an irritation, frustration, anger comes up, ask yourself, can I handle this differently? Is there a way for me to take a step back from what I'm feeling right now and actually just see the situation for something else? And if it is, great, then act differently and always choose the positive route. All right? Great. I'll talk to you next week.